Why did you come the first time? Why did you come back today?
To talk to 4 or 5 men that I've never met before and have an authentic conversation was not only time well spent, but something that I think is desperately needed by most men all over the world.
And
Yeah.
and now a new understanding. Men can be talking, as Darren said. We can be emotional. We can open up, but we can at the same time still be that rock for ourselves, but also for our partners.
Welcome to the podcast that guides men to demystify and develop their intuition. I'm your host, Doug Beitz. Let's dig into the science and expand your horizons.
Yeah. Haven't set a theme for today, but I thought I might ask a one-word question, and that is why? I know why I started this group, but I'm just curious for some of you guys, like why you've come along for the first time or the fifth time or whatever it is for you today. What keeps you coming back? Who'd like to go first?
I'll go first.
Give us to Nick.
So I don't really it's a great question. One of the oldest questions in the universe. Why? But in this particular case, my life is extremely busy. Something that my wife and I have talked about. I'm married, by the way. We just celebrated 18 years. We do not have any kids, but we have a cat who's actually as old as us. We got married on June 30th, 2006, and we got her 2 days later. She was 6 weeks old. She just had her 18th birthday, and she's such a beast, but I love her. So we lived in Tampa, Florida. We're originally from New York. We lived in Texas for 6 years, then just moved here 2 years ago. And we've actually talked about how something that we haven't done yet is meet a lot of people. We've both been so busy with work, getting settled in. And like in Texas, we lived in a small town just outside of Austin. And if you couldn't meet people and make friends, then you were probably the problem. We lived in a small town of like 9,000 people. And I think by the time we left, we knew like half the people that lived there. We just haven't had the chance to really do that, to connect with a lot of people. We both work remotely. So, we don't have an office or a building to go to every day. I worked in the pharmaceutical, clinical trial, medical device industry. My wife runs a travel agency business. And so, we don't get out a ton. Like we have a ton of fun together and we do have some friends, but not a ton. So, when this came up, I thought it was a brilliant idea to meet new people. And I know that we are scattered all over the world, but look, COVID has kind of changed everything and shown us that we can do things differently. We can meet people, we can collaborate, we can have, virtual drinks. We don't need really, it's nice to get to do this in person, but when we can't, it's great to be in a situation where we can just meet new people and make new friends, all of that. So that's honestly the reason why I decided to do it. And plus, honestly, Doug is a pretty great guy. And I knew that the minute I had my first call with him. And so when he mentioned this, and he does this with guys that he's worked with and spoken with, interviewed, or just however he's met everybody, it sounded like a great idea. And I was really touched by the invite. So, and I know that the times vary. Sometimes are, like morning for Doug or evening for Doug, or they vary all the time. So, when the invites, come and I'm able to, I'm definitely going to join. There are probably going to be some weeks that I have interviews or something else going on, and I might not be able to make it all the time, or like tonight for part of it. But I'm excited. I'm just thrilled at the chance to meet great people and see what everybody else's story is as well. That's kind of the why for me.
Excellent. And I know I've had some fairly deep conversations with all the guys on here at various times. And Nick, some of their fathers have already passed. And I've had conversations with them about this very thing. So some of you guys, if you want to stick your hand up for Nick's podcast, talks all about, your experiences with your dad when he was here and how you're handling it all now your dad's not here. It's a great
Or not
place.
handling it.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all
Thanks
right.
for that. I appreciate that, Doug.
No worries. All right. Anyone else want to chime in on why you keep coming back or why you come the first time?
Yeah, I'll go, Doug.
Okay, Phil.
Look, sorry I'm late, guys. Yeah, look, you're the sort of people, that I'd give each and every one of you the keys to the front door. That's how I feel. When I'm in the company of you fellas. And I would say accepting the invitation to be part of the first one was, just out of curiosity, interest. And after that, I just felt this camaraderie. And, I get something out of every Zoom meeting we attend. And I take it into my day, and it makes me think, a lot more about things. And, my relationship to everything else in this world. So it's and just the sincerity from everyone, and I feel a closeness to everyone here, and like a closeness that enables me to speak openly.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. Kevin, I saw you with your hand up before.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Hey, everybody. Good to meet Darren and Nick for the first time. Good to see, Eric as well, I think. I haven't seen you. And then everyone else, Paul, Phil. Good to see everybody. So I met Doug kind of intuitively, you could say. It was just looking to connect for a podcast interview, and intuition is a huge part of my work. And it's just such a special thing to be able to connect with people, especially guys, where there is this conversation around emotional intelligence, intuition, what is even that? And the work that I do, I help people transform their lives from the inside out, which then transforms the outside. So we get aligned on the inside, and then everything else changes, or we release trauma, or we release pain, or we transform a belief, and then things change. And I think this is a beautiful vehicle of change for us individually in the group, and then also for the larger audience, where I think, Phil, you nailed it. It's those gems. It's those gems that get dropped, those nuggets that just come up in conversation that might not have emerged otherwise, just because of this collection of everyone that we've got and everything that we bring that's so similar and then so unique at the same time. So I'm really grateful to be able to have met everybody and to continue these conversations. To your point, Nick, when the schedule aligns, it's always a treat when I see it pop up.
Thanks, Kevin. Paul?
Yeah, I align with Nick and Kevin, and knowing you gentlemen as days have gone by in our meetings, Phil, all of the achievements that you've done recently, it's brilliant to follow that. And honestly, we live in a diverse world, and we have different ideas, different perspectives. We're aiming for different goals, but to come together as a group, just as Phil sort of said, a really amazing group of men, amazing group of souls. And we're all eager to advance ourselves. But as we advance ourselves, we can then be in a better place to help others. And so, in essence, we're all in service to something so much greater. And it's inspiring to be able to be in that presence. For me, you can be in a group of men and feel frustrated or drained, so to speak, and you can be in a group of men and feel inspired. And this is the group of men that, I feel inspired. So that's who I choose to hang around with. So that's why I would like to keep coming back. And it really, I think it's wonderful for us as a communal being, ultimately, because we are all connected. It's just to the level of degree that we are aware of that connectedness. It's important that we do connect, share, inspire each other, understand the deeper levels because of our different perspectives, and have that openness to hear the different ideas and go, that's a great idea, or do I align with that or don't I align with that? Those sorts of things. But that's how we expand our horizons and become more. And then we can be in support of each other. As Nick, when we go through that tough moment, Dad's not there anymore, sometimes we need that support, to say, it's okay, mate, you can do this. And because we're all over the world is another living proof that we are great men, no matter where we are, where we live, what we're doing. So thanks, gentlemen. It's an honor to be with you all again.
Excellent. Yeah, and we haven't seen Paul for the last couple of weeks because he's 2 hours behind me. So when I do them at 7 a.m. my time, it's 5 a.m. And it is the middle of winter for us guys at the moment too. It's like, yeah, so this one's a little later in the day, so he's waking time. Eric, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I know it's been a minute, Doug. There's been a lot of good stuff, man. But I think my why is, like you said, come back with a group of guys again. And what I love about it is that during my journeys of talking and collaborating with like special forces, firefighters, first responders, just everybody, and there's a lot of information that people just don't know. And just to provide that and just connect with them and just to get them to understand that. And then whatever I learn and whatever I gather from that, and just to come back and teach and show and just share the information and just help us realize what we just don't know and help better our lives from, I believe what Kevin said, from the inside out. Because that's what it is, trying to bring both worlds and understand both worlds within, and really, really understand that we can shine bright in the world by understanding ourselves, how we are designed, how we're supposed to operate in the world.
Excellent. Excellent. Darren, hand up there.
Yeah. Guys, great to connect with everyone. I love hearing what everyone's just said there. A couple of things for me. I think without going down a rabbit hole on it, like two things is the lone wolf has kind of been like romanticized. That's like one thing, and also that groups of guys coming together has been somehow deemed like toxic by the media and stuff like that. There's nothing better than getting together with a group of guys on, talking about being a great dad, talking about being a great leader, talking about being a great partner. And, I echo what you've all said, sort of sharing that information and taking that from other people can already, feel the energy in here is amazing. And from what Nick said earlier, a lot of terrible things came from that whole COVID era, but also some amazing stuff did. And one is the fact that we're connecting with people from all over the world, which I think's phenomenal. I'm a big advocate for men's groups. I run a men's group myself, seat at the table. And when I set that up, I did take a lot of flack on social media for it. That we've spent years coming away from that, and you're taking people back to it. And it's like, if you look at a lot of the stuff going on in the world, then maybe we need to go more backwards instead of forwards sometimes. And some of the things that really worked for us. And I think that's my why. My why is that with the right group of people around you, whether you're going through the biggest struggle in your life or you're having the best achievement of your life, you've got somebody to either pull you up when you're struggling, or you've got somebody to help you celebrate when you've got those achievements. So amazing to connect, guys. And Doug, I really appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah. And Darren, your groups, out of curiosity, they're online or they're all in person?
Predominantly in person, really, Doug. I've got a free Facebook group that everybody can jump in, but at the minute the events are quite locally, like sort of in the UK. But I'm always up for expanding that. I'm just sort of moving a little bit more nationwide at the minute rather than locally. And then next on the agenda is to go internationally. My missus is from Kansas. She lives over here now, but I've got a guy who's going to host one of my Cigars and Stories events over there at some point. We were going to go for Christmas, but it's funny that Nick's on here. My stepdad died on Thursday. Who was with my mum for 30 years. It's not my dad, but he kind of just been there the same as my dad has. So we've cancelled going back for Christmas this year, but we're going to hopefully get over there next summer and probably get a Cigars and Stories event on over there, Doug. That's what I'm hoping. That's the plan of action.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you actually sit and smoke cigars?
Yeah, we light the fire. We sit around the fire, and if the guys want to smoke a cigar, they can. Some do, some don't. We just share stories. It's quite an informal one, that is, really, Doug. The other events, there's more of a speaker on, sharing something that they've overcome as a man that can help the other guys, or something they might be going through. But the Cigars and Story is pretty much we just sit around the fire and we chat. We just see where the conversation goes, which it's gone in all different directions. Each event it goes in a different direction. So it's it's nice. It's that good feeling. It's that brotherhood and that camaraderie and everything I think that we need as a man.
Interesting. And it's funny, I've never smoked in my life, and my dad smoked for 80 years. We think lung cancer got him in the end, but there was times in his life there where he would smoke a pipe. And I was sitting yesterday, I had car breakdown. I had to wait for the auto club for an hour to come and fix the work car. And I'm sitting there and I was thinking, I've never smoked in my life, but I've got this, not a strong desire, but these thoughts of, I might buy a pipe and I might sit out on the backyard and occasionally smoke a pipe. Like, it's very random, I can tell you. Like, my wife would be like, and my boys would be looking at me, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm thinking, I wonder if one of my siblings has got my dad's pipe, because he passed away 2 years ago and none of them smoked. So I was thinking, yeah, I might try and get dad's old pipe and sit there like Popeye, and have a bit of a puff like once a week, go outside and something different to do. Yeah, pretty random.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I'd go for it, Doug. Yeah. It's I always hear that people died of lung cancer and they're smoking 20 or 30 cigarettes a day, but you never really hear that, like, somebody passed away and they were smoking like 3 cigars a day. That never really sort of crops up. So I don't know whether the tobacco's a bit different. I don't know. But so, like say, some of the guys will smoke a cigar, some don't. But the conversation just flows.
Yeah, cool. I think we've gone through. Toussaint, do you want to share?
Yes, man, it's good to be back. My why for doing this is because I really believe in what Doug is doing. The word intuition with men, it's like, are you kidding me? We get to actually speak our truth, speak from the heart. Like, that in and of itself is huge for men. And I really believe it's this wave of energy that is really trying to balance itself out. There's balance and reciprocity coming in the universe. It's happening right now. And I feel like we're riding that wave, and some of us are called to do it, and some of us answer that call. And I feel like even prior to Doug reaching out to me and to be on his podcast, I felt like I've been answering this call to really be my authentic self, open up, and, be vulnerable in a way where I can attract people in my life who are going in that same direction, men in my life. So this is my virtual playground. Like, if I was going to go to a playground, I want to come to this playground and hang out with you guys, because I feel like this is the energy. And I feel like honesty, vulnerability, it really begins to support you on a psychosomatic level. We begin to increase our longevity. We pour more life into our years on the planet, and we can become the best version of ourselves. But we can do that in community, right? In community, which is really, really important. So.
All right. And we lost Toussaint for a minute. He'll come back in, I'm sure. And I think everyone's gone. I guess I'll share. I think most of you know why I started this thing. Just I was lonely. I wanted some friends. And plus, here comes Toussaint back in now. I'll click him back in. All right. And it's really, I've got friends, but it's not what we can talk about here is very, very different than what I can talk to my neighbors about, like, I've got a neighbor who comes over and we chat a lot. We have some really good conversations. But if I brought up any stuff like we're talking about here, he would be kind of weirded out. And it's like that. I've got 4 adult sons that I can have conversations like this with. But yeah, so it's good. Alan's just arrived. How are you? And
wonderful.
Good, mate. Good. Our theme for the day is a single word. Why? And the question is, why have you come to the group for the first time or the 5th time or whatever? And I think this is your 2nd time, Alan. And we've all just finished going through. So you've come in at the perfect time. you didn't hear our answers, but I guess we'll just ask you, like, this is your second time, isn't it? Yeah. Why did you come the first time? Why did you come back today?
So you and I had a podcast 3 weeks ago, I think it was, and it was just such a dynamic conversation that you invited me to this group. So I came, and the conversation that we had was just incredible. I mean, to talk to 4 or 5 men that I've never met before and have an authentic conversation was not only time well spent, but something that I think is desperately needed by most men all over the world.
Yeah. And yeah, cool. And we've got 9 here today, which I think 8 is the most we've had before. So
Nice.
yeah, this is great. It's great. And yeah, so I just thought it'd be interesting today, like why we're here, why we keep coming back. And I mean, you know, like sometimes we dwindle down to like 3 of us, but we've all got our schedules and times and what's going on. So I thought it'd be interesting to just like why we keep coming back. And yeah, and for me it is all about the level of conversation. I like deep conversations, and I've been able to have a deep conversation with all of you at various times when we've podcasted, etc., or here, and we can talk about real stuff, that things that I think are real anyway. Not everyone does, but yeah. Darren.
Think you know one of the sort of mental health things that's constantly pushed, which I've never subscribed to at all, is that men don't talk. Men don't talk. You know, men don't have these conversations, and it's like, you know, you can't shut us up if you get us in the if you create the right environment. We'll talk about anything and everything. It's all about that environment being created. You know, maybe on the construction site, it's not easy to just start sparking a conversation, but I think it's our responsibility as men to seek that out if we haven't got it. Not just think, oh, you know, I can't talk. Then that seek out your people where you can have those conversations. But every time I speak at an event, I say that you know, I think that's just bullshit, that men don't talk, and I think it's pushed in the UK has been the reason why men take their own, like, oh, you know, men don't talk, that's why that happened, rather than looking at all the underlying things, like, you know, not being satisfied, not having purpose, and all those things. It's easier to just brush it off as, oh, you know, men don't talk.
Yeah, I hear you. Paul?
Yeah, I was to add to what Darren said. You know, I think it was a great point that you brought up. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I would just, from my perspective, this really kind of is a rising of the divine feminine, and the women are really getting out of there in the groups, and they're really, you know, doing their work and helping themselves, healing themselves, expanding themselves to the next level. And we as men are, one would say, kind of lagging behind in that piece, has been my observation. And so the importance of us men coming together, and the breaking down of the old, you know, stigmas, the old law of how we should behave. You know, we're not allowed to cry, we're not allowed to be emotional, we shouldn't be talking, you know, we've got to be tough, you know, all the rest of it. And I think that it's important as we come together, as one would say, more evolved souls, that we can open up to those new aspects, what we're learning, how we're experiencing it, how we're dealing with it. And in you, Doug, bringing us together as an important role as a connector, and then also putting it out there so that, you know, men who are, one would say, on the fence, they're curious, but they're not sure, they can see, watch, and go, oh, yeah, I can relate to that, you know, and I need more help in that area. And then, you know, go and see Kevin or whoever it may be to expand what it is that they think they know, but they're not sure on, you know. And I think this is really inspirational, because we do need to change ourselves. We do need to constantly work on ourselves. And there's this conversation is inspiring to bring up new ideas, just like you, Doug, you know, what should we talk about today? Why? You know, so we can just flow in the moment, but in that there can be a sharing, there can be, you know, inspiration, there can be emotion. There can be clarity, and a lot of that comes through the connection and the sharing, and now a new understanding. Men can be talking, as Darren said. We can be emotional. We can open up, but we can at the same time still be that rock for ourselves, but also for our partners, in family, which is really our role, to be that rock while they move. The Shakti's going all over the place. The Shiva can still stand in his spot and say, I've got you, babe, and that's our role. But we can still be connected, appreciate, admire, evolve ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Paul. Toussaint, you want to go?
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to piggyback off of what my man just said about this divine feminine rising up, and how there's just this balance that is really happening. And some of us are ignoring it, but I really feel like the idea to respond from your intuition is so important, because I firmly believe that there is intelligence in every cell in our bodies, and our bodies want us to get better. Our nervous systems want to heal. Like, we naturally want to, we're naturally trying to heal ourselves. Obviously, there's blocks. There's many of us identifying with what the world wants us to be, and and all of this deconditioning that we have to do to sort of really have faith in our own intuition. But when we start to really tap in, it's like, wait a minute, all I had to do was raise my hand, just like I raised my hand right now and you called on me, Doug. It's like, oh, I got something to say, let me raise my hand. And a lot of us are beginning to like raise our hands, and because I really feel like we naturally want to open up. We naturally want to become whole again. That's like the nature of who we are. It's like homeostasis, right? And this idea around, okay, following your intuition. It's like, yes, let me follow that still small voice that will never leave me, that will never leave me. And once we start doing that, then things begin to shift in the direction of just the best version of ourselves. And so I just feel like, I'm going to keep coming back, and who knows, I might have an amazing dynamic group like my man, Nick, our dead dads. Are you kidding me? That's huge. My father has passed away, and he affects me and my life and his memory every day. I have so much to share about him. About how to live life and how not to live life, but I mean, in general, and he was a very intuitive person too. So yeah, I really feel like, many of us are really beginning to answer that call, to really begin to speak our truth and raise your hand,
Yeah. Yep. And Eric.
Yeah, I think what I want to talk about is, because I actually had issues talking to you guys. I had a guy problem. Like, I couldn't talk to guys. I couldn't open to guys. I didn't have that trust. You know what I mean? And like, slowly, as I started understanding intuition, it definitely gives me another thing to talk about. Then, oh, what's the ball game? What's on the TV channel? What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? So it really helps us really get more into the nitty gritty about ourselves and able to express ourselves. And the fact that I was able to actually start coming out and start really talking and start talking about intuition, because I realized is a lot of the times it's just I felt awkward, like, you know what I mean? Are they gonna think of me this and that or whatever? So I always just kind of just not say nothing and kept it on surface level. But once I started, talking about the moons, the stars, kind of throw it in there or whatever. And there was this one gentleman I was talking to, and he's like, oh, dude, I love the stars. I love the moon. And I'm like, me too, dude. Oh, what the heck? It opened up a whole can of worms, man, about other things to talk about. And then I talked to another guy and then another guy. And I'm like, okay, it just is not talked about. You know what I mean? And it gave me another way to actually express myself and to really, connect with another dude. And the more and more I started doing, like I said, thank you for bringing this together, because it gives me another outlet where I'm kind of alone, where I don't have that to talk to or whatever. and to come in here and know that there's other like-minded guys that can talk about the same thing I like to talk about, but at the same time, we can also talk about growth and how to move past those blockages, those barriers, and those things, and give that insight and that perspective to, you know, work together as a team, like it's a round table. It's not a square, it's not a triangle, it's a round table. That's what it's for. It's a circle, it's a union for us to grow to be the best versions of we can, and to our best of our ability, you know, though. But I just wanted to add that.
Excellent. Yeah, that's beautiful. Anyone else got anything they wanted to share? Or Toussaint, you've still got your hand up, but is that from before?
Yeah, I think that's from before, but you know, I have one more thing to just add really quick. I don't want to take up too much space, but you know, one thing about just going back to this idea of intuition, I really feel like our intuition is not just about us. Our intuition is about how the universe is trying to complete itself through us, right? Like I feel like we're all one, like that whole oneness situation, right? We're all one, and so we all live in this body of the universe, and the universe is trying, and we're all, you know, I think we're all figments of the Big Bang. Like we are all the stuff that stars are made of. So if we're that, then that has to continuously complete itself. Like we're not a mistake. So that intuition is sort of nudging you to this greater connection of like, okay, I'm giving, this is like a co-creator. It's like the creator in you, like you're co-creating. It's like, oh, I just gotta download. Okay, so let me go this way, you know. So our intuition is something, this is why this group is so powerful, is because it's like when you tap into something, when you tap into your intuition, you're really tapping into something greater than yourself that is allowing you to become the best version of yourself, allowing you to attract that tribe, right? To open your mouth up and talk about the stars. Okay, you did that. Now you can start attracting your tribe. You open up doors, you know, and so there are no mistakes. And I know that your intuition is not a mistake. It's like there for you to follow, to cherish, and to take heed to, you know, because it's greater than you, the universe itself, actually. I'm complete.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, Toussaint, with how the universe is trying to complete itself, and I think part of with as we tap into our intuition, we'll start to fulfill that mission more, because we're I'm sort of it's coming through here. I had it before when you were talking about it, Toussaint. Where are we? Paul, you got your hand up. You give it to us, and mine will come back in a minute.
Jump in when it pops back in before it pops back out again. Okay, Doug? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just reading this incredible book, Intellect to Intuition, by Alice Bailey. And in fact, I finished it. But, you know, the way I see us, just to continue on for, you know, what Toussaint's saying is brilliant. You know, I completely agree with you, brother. And, you know, our essence, our soul, the higher aspect of our consciousness is here to express itself through our physical vehicle. And, you know, it's that intuition part is where we're opening up to and allowing that flow, one would say, of that wisdom, that knowledge, that greater aspect to express itself through us. And for most of us in our past as men, we would have our mind and our ego being the dominant piece, and the ego wouldn't allow something else to be in control or step forward, you know. So I've got to be in control, and I've got to be the one doing this. And, you know, but now as we evolve, you know, we're opening up and realizing we don't have all the answers, we don't know everything, but as we allow that greater aspect of ourselves to come through, that through the intuition, the flow of that greater knowingness, we can in the moment, you know, bring in new wisdom, pivot or share or grow or whatever it may be through this greater expression of ourselves. So well said, my friend. And It's again another reason why it's inspiring to be in this group to talk about things like this.
Yeah. And I think what I was headed with that before was with the universe. I think we're here to help wake each other up. And as we wake each other up, we ripple out and others get woken up. Like as we share things and inspire each other here, we go away today or tonight and, rub off on those who were around either in person or on social media or however, wherever, or energetically, however we do it, we send that message out. Because I know in the last month or two, that's become a thing for me. Is part of my mission is to wake up those who are sleeping, those men, by helping them develop their intuition. Because when they develop their intuition, it's so much easier because I'm teaching them to turn the radio on so that a message can come through, whatever that message is, teaching them then to push the antenna higher so that they can tap into more and different messages that they need to receive. And because there's men out there who this is my opinion, who before they incarnated here on this planet chose a mission, whatever that mission was. And some of them are older than me and still haven't woken up to that mission in this life. And if we can help those men tap into their intuition, they will turn the radio on, they'll hear the message, and they'll be like, oh, that's what my life's purpose is. Because it just suddenly, they hear whatever the message is and it comes through, and it enlivens them, and they just realize they've got a new deep sense of purpose for whatever it was they came to do. So yeah. Kevin?
Yeah, I love where this conversation's going. It's like somebody said, it's like getting in the sandbox and playing with all our favorite toys with our friends. So I look at it as more of a remembering as opposed to an awakening, because we've all been where we come from, whatever we perceive that to be. And when we can reduce the volume and the noise of life, which is where I think that's where ego comes in, that's where attachment comes in, that's where resistance comes in. We excavate that layer, and then all that remains is intuition, enlightened beingness, aligned right action. All of that's always been there. It's just the kind of survival mechanisms that we get thrust into when we're born that deviate us from that knowing. So I feel like that mission, the mission specs are there the whole time, and we just get to this inflection point where, oh, that's what it was. Oh, so it's like coming back to those natural states of being that we really haven't collectively been connecting with at scale for at least the last 18,000 years or so, since the last kind of global cataclysm that shifted things, and then our current modern society emerged from, in the last couple thousand. And so if we look at it from that standpoint, I feel like intuition is our interface with universal consciousness. That's the signal, as getting the signal from the noise. And the beauty thing is, whether we wake up or remember in this lifetime or not, if we're looking at it through the lens of quantum physics, it's everything everywhere all at once. Every permutation, every sliding door reality that each of us and everyone else in the world could potentially ever experience is all happening right now. So in that regard, we're on the bleeding edge of universal creation. We are the universe creating itself through experience, gaining more knowledge, more just gaining just more knowledge, more experience. I love a short story. If you haven't checked it out, it's Isaac Asimov's The Last Question. And there's a website called Imager. It's IMGUR. So, and it's a great graphic novel treatment of this short story. And it just encapsulates everything we're kind of talking about. And it takes an artistic look at, you know, the one potential reason for the Big Bang, and, you know, what things came into being to create that spark, if that is the type of, you know, cyclical origin that we come from. But it's the last question is, can entropy be reversed? And I talk a lot about entropy in the work I do, where if we look at the human body, it's a universe within the universe. It's an isolated system of 70 to 120 million, sorry, I think 120 trillion cells actually. And so from that standpoint, we are a universe experiencing life. And the second law of thermodynamics is entropy tends to increase in an isolated system. And they talk about the universe with that. So dissolution, more chaos, mutation. And so if we look at our system in this through that same lens, when there is more energy, excess energy than this system is intended for, that's where entropy starts to really accelerate, and we get dis-ease, and we get ill, and we get the system breaks down in different ways. And so it's this beautiful kind of macro, micro, you know, Mandelbrot set, China or Russian nesting doll, fractal experience that I think is the reality we all have, whether or not we are aware of it or not. And so pulling back that lens is one of those mechanisms for me that's really gotten me to that, more of that understanding of the intuition and the connection to source, to the universe. It really helped smooth things out just conceptually for me.
Excellent. It was funny, 10 minutes ago, Nick typed a message in the chat sort of saying, because we knew he was leaving, saying, sorry, I got to go. And he's like, I'm really bummed out because this thing's just really warming up now. And I'm thinking like, yeah, if he was here now, he'd be like, wow, yeah, now we're getting into it. And yeah, cool. And I was thinking there when you were saying that, Kevin, I was just picturing like someone predetermining before they were born here, putting some little, planting some triggers in their lives, like so that, hopefully I'll meet this person and they'll say this, and that'll wake me up to that eventually. Or if that mouse trap doesn't go off, I'll set this trap over here and I'll bump into that person and they'll say something and that'll wake me up. Or, you know, so we've got all these, and, you know, we could be part of that. I think people have been part of our lives in the past and have brought us to a point where we've woken up to things, and now we're probably part of that mission too, to wake others up as well. You on babysitting duty today, Son?
Yes, I am actually. My wife just went to the grocery store with my daughter, so I got my son right now. I was sitting right beside him while he was napping, and
Beautiful.
he actually woke up. So I think he wants to join the conversation.
How you going? What's his name?
His name is Harlem, like Harlem, New York.
Yep.
Harlem, yeah.
Harlem, cool. Hey, Harlem,
Yeah.
how you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
Hey, mate.
You know, when you just said, Doug, about, you know, maybe we were somewhere picking out the experiences that we were going to have so we could, you know, create more an elevated consciousness and getting to this higher space. I was just thinking about that. Like, you know, one of the things that I feel like in order, like for things to shift, really to shift, I believe if we, and I was even kind of triggered to think this when I heard about the Dead Dads podcast, was that when you think about the fact is that we were consciousness before we came into this avatar. We were infinite intelligence coming into this avatar, and we actually chose our parents. We chose our life. We saw the whole life before it even began to manifest. This is how intelligent, this is the type of intelligence that we're a part of. And when you think about it, what's happening inside of the mother when you're being born? Like the milk is getting developed, the uterus is being created, like all of this stuff is happening to prepare a path for you to grow, right? And so it's like we chose you know, sometimes many of us can lament over, oh man, if I just would have had a different dad, or if I would have had a different mom, or if I would have been born with more money, or if I wouldn't have been raised in the South, like, man, my life would have been so. But wait a minute. It's almost like you're arguing with the universe, the universal intelligence that you're a part of. No, you actually were consciousness before you came into this avatar, and you chose all of these circumstances to get you to a higher level. Imagine if you walked around owning your own part in infinite intelligence, like just taking accountability for your place in infinite intelligence. Like you actually chose this to get to a higher level. Then every experience you could look at, okay, what did I learn from? What was the lesson in that? You start to look at things completely different, right? And I feel like a lot of us men are banging our head against the wall, like, if only this, if I got people in my family who go, if only this, if I would have had the same parents, I would have been to the NFL right now. But my dad wasn't there. It's like, wait a minute. You know, it's like, you can't, you know, it's almost like, I mean, there's just this idea, you know, there are no mistakes in the universe. You're not a mistake. Your parents that had you weren't a mistake. They were actually completely like connected and aligned for your dad to actually, you know, plant a seed in your mom for you to come through. Okay. So regardless, you know, like when we own our place in infinite, ever expanding intelligence, and own the fact that everything, we're here because we wanted to be here, then you can take off. You can take off and fly so high. And so that's my thing. Like, this is why I just like love being here, because I chose to be here. You know, it is like, how much more can I experience this beautiful life? This is why I'm so obsessed with taking care of myself. You know? But in general, it allows me to support and take care of other people on a different level, you know? So I'm complete. That was just a little intuition I had, but you gonna say hi? Okay.
Hey, Harlem.
All right.
That was great. Thanks, Tasson. Thank you. Yeah, no, I think when you start to look at life the way Tasson was just talking there, I know when I start to take on those thoughts, it makes me happier with my life. And it's like I can see a bigger picture, because I have complained as many years ago about why didn't I have a different dad? But when he passed 2 years ago, I started to having all these revelations of why he did what he did and why, you know, and it's like, oh, wow. Gee, I learned so much and I'm such a better person. But all the time I was wishing that I had a different dad. And yeah, so that bigger picture really helps a lot on things. So yeah. Anyone else got anything else to share?
Everyone in this group for me is Gandhi-like. So when, you know, I lead the group, each time we meet, I take this collective amount of mindfulness out into the world, and I just feel taller. There's this quiet confidence in me, and the more I think about the fact that there's less years ahead of me than there are behind me, then what I want to achieve is this level of knowledge, this level of understanding about so many things. And so if I can raise someone else's strength or their calmness, because calmness, I believe calmness is strength. You know, real softness is real strength for me. So if I can, just by my presence, if I can raise someone else's level of calmness, and I can sense that, intuit that, Doug. But for me, that's great. So at the moment, every day I get out of bed, I'm like I'm visiting a new country and I'm there for 10 days. So what do I want to do in that 10 days? My wife, I send her nuts. She goes, you don't have to see everything in a day for 10 days. Yes, I do. You know? So, my dad used to say to me when he was alive, is that the traffic outside I can hear, or just your brain ticking over? So now I get what Dad, even though he said it humorously, I can see what he's about. I've got this ADD for life, this hunger for life. And so with you guys, that this is beautiful for me. I look forward to our meetings, and I'm looking forward to the podcast. Our dead dads. God, what a title, our dead dads. There's a bit of humour in that, I think, almost. Well, for me anyway, our dead dads. But there's some great stuff, and humorous stuff that I'm looking forward to contribute to that. But for me, yeah. I take this collective amount of mindfulness that is generated in our meetings, and it makes me a better person.
Darren, did you want to share?
Yeah, what Kevin said there in the chat. Nothing's happening to me; everything's happening for me. As soon as you view life in that way, everything just flows. You're in flow once you see things, and I see so many people using their story, as I call it, against them rather than for them. They're using that, their upbringing or whatever's happened. They're using it to their detriment rather than to the power, and it's sad to see. And I think when something struck me, what you said earlier, Doug, that these people in these places that we've kind of put them there. And when I look back, I've seen those people in retrospect and I haven't fucking listened. I've that person's been put in front of, and I haven't listened. And then I've gone on and something else has happened. And then I've read this book and I didn't really listen to that. I remember reading The Alchemist when I think I was 15 or 16, and I'd read all these good things about it. And I read it and I thought it was shit. I was like, why are all these good reviews about this book? Like, it's about a shepherd. This is shite. And I reread it when I think I was 29 or I was 30, and it was like bombs going off in my head. It was like all these things were awakening inside me. That at 15, I just wasn't ready to. I wasn't ready to receive that information. I wasn't ready to take it on board. But 10, 12 years later or whatever it was, I was ready for it, and it just hit at the right time. And I found that with a few books that you go back and you revisit it, not in as powerful manner as that, but that it just ignites different things for you. And I think that's amazing. But the big one for me is those people that are using their own story against them, and it's heartbreaking when you see it and you try and when you try you've got to be sensitive in how you put it across to them that maybe this has happened for you. Wow, what do you mean this has happened for me? All this stuff was bad, where it isn't all bad. It's all making you the person who you are today, and it's all building you into that superhero, without sounding like cheesy, really.
Where you go, Eric?
Yeah, I just want to add, like we talk a lot about the upside of intuition, how it does all these good things, though. But just for the viewers out there as well, we want to point out that, I mean, for an example, just a little quick story is I had a relapse. Once I started opening up, once I started understanding and all that, I went to a freaking slump. Like once I started like waking up and understanding like more than meets the eye, I went to a depression. So it's not all ups and one in the universe, all that. I started regretting everything. If I would have did this, if I would have that, my brother would have survived, or the people I lost in the military, I would have made that right decision and they would have survived. And I went downpouring down. So if the viewers out there feel like, yeah, I do have it, but I'm mad at it, or I don't like it or whatever, though, I mean, reach out. It's okay. There's going to be the ups and downs in the flow, and it's going to take time to grow into it. And it's okay. And the main thing is that it takes time, and depending on where you're at in your life and how you're brought up and where you're at, though. But no, there is a downside, and it is a struggle, especially where you're at in life. So if you're out there and you're saying that I have it, but I have these feelings about it, or now I feel on a low vibration level, I mean, it's okay too. It takes time to heal, and then that's the time to probably reach out and start learning and start connecting with those people to help you understand and help you heal and mend those wounds, so you can actually grow in a healthy way in intuition.
Excellent. Yeah, beautiful. Darren, where you go?
Yeah, have you seen the meme, Eric, where it says what I thought awakening would be like, and it's like a guy sat there like this, and it's what it's really like, and it's a kid going down the slide like when.
No, I've seen that. I don't know, but I've seen a couple of them.
That's it.
No, I get you.
All right. Well, we're just coming up almost on an hour. Anyone got any last words they want to share, or?
I think the last word I want to share is that, what my man was talking about, Eric, when you were talking about kind of the dark side of healing, right? You said it kind of threw you into a relapse. You're like, whoa, and this is one aspect of healing. When you're in the process of becoming whole consciously, because I think our bodies are always, and our nervous system and everything is always trying to become whole. But when you can become conscious in the process, right, then you begin to realize that there's a lot of things that come up, and that a lot of times we apply narrative to these things that come up. And that can be a rabbit hole, right? There have been so many ways that, we as men have been repressed in some ways, and that we've learned how to repress ourselves unconsciously, that things that come up to be integrated, to be felt, right? Oftentimes we want to apply a narrative. Oh, that must mean I'm feeling like this, because it's like, don't apply a narrative to it. Just sit still with feeling. It wants to be honored and feel it, right? The body keeps the score, right? And so when we're in this place of like bliss and, oh, I'm feeling so good, I feel so relaxed now, I feel like I found my voice, that's one side of healing. But the other side is like all of these feelings and these repressed emotions and this way I've disassociated from some authentic parts of myself is coming to the surface to be reckoned with and to be healed and nurtured. This is where we have got to begin to recognize that self-judgment will come up because of our constant identification with the world, because we're taught to identify with the world. We're not taught to identify with our authenticity, right? And so giving ourselves love and grace. Okay, I feel like shit today. I don't want to put a label on it. I just feel like shit today, and I'm going to feel it. I'm not going to go try and drink it away or smoke it away. I'm going to sit still and say, how is this emotion going to teach me? Right? And so this is where we begin to realize emotions are coming up to be felt. And then eventually when you feel them, you can release them. But you got to feel them first, right? And this is, I believe, a true feeling journey. But I love that you brought up both sides of this idea of being fully integrated and whole. We have a lot of damaged parts that are coming back to life, right? And that sometimes what Toni Morrison said in Beloved, anything coming back to life, it hurts. So that's all I had to say, guys. Just continue on the journey. You guys are all in the right place, exactly where you need to be. There are no mistakes.
Awesome. Thank you, Toussaint. And any final words, or are we winding up? No, looks like we're winding it up. And as usual, thank you very much, guys, for the lively conversation. I think it's very, very varied. We had some good variety in there for the listeners, and thank you again. And we'll see you all again in a couple of weeks.
See you guys.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you,
See you guys.
Darren.
Thanks, Doug.
You're awesome, brother. You keep doing good work, man. I'm proud of you, man.
Appreciate
I'm
it,
proud
brother.
of you, Philip.
Take care, guys.
Good job,
See you
Kevin.
next time.
Good job,
See you
man.
guys again.
All right.
See
Thank you,
yous.
Paul. All right. Peace, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Well, we're at the end of another thought-provoking episode. Remember to subscribe so you'll be alerted to new episodes. I want to say thank you to the men who are joining me on this journey of intuitive development. I truly hope our time together has expanded your reality and reinforced trust in your ever-reliable gut feeling. Embrace your intuition. It will not lead you astray. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and trust your gut.